Hi everyone, it's Judy Boxner live from the world from the Literacy Summit in Big Sky, Montana, and we have a very special guest. Our special guest was supposed to be with us earlier this morning, but there were some things that came up. But guess what? I was dying to speak to this man, and here he is now. And I am so excited because everybody knows this is a topic that I'm extremely passionate about. But you've seen me on many episodes ask questions, and sometimes I'm confused. And I'm the queen of asking questions. And when I don't know something, I'm going to learn. So here we are with a very special guest, and I'm going to let him introduce himself today.
Thank you very much, Judy. It's a pleasure to be here. So sorry about the mix-up this morning, but it's good to catch up with you and spend some time with you. My name is Antonio Fierro. I'm the Vice President of Professional Learning and Academics at the 95% Group. I've spent probably most of my career working with Louisa Moats and her group of wonderful instructors teaching the psychology of reading through letters. But it's great to be here. This is a great conference, don't you think?
I think it's an amazing conference. Right. I mean, so today, just as a piece of context, it's been 4 days of nonstop action in Big Sky, Montana. I think Nell and her team and Terry have done an incredible job. I have so much new knowledge, but I think the key for me is what am I going to do with that knowledge after I leave this conference? And I think that that's such an important piece for everybody. When we go to conferences, it's really about what are we going to do next? And I hope that my conversation with Antonio will help design some of my next moves. I was telling Antonio when I just met him a little while ago in person, which is so exciting, that I work in a school. We have probably, I would say, maybe 85% Latino students. We also have students that speak other languages, Arabic, French, and so forth. And sometimes we don't have all the answers on what to do for our students. And I want to make sure that we're getting it right. So let's begin. So Antonio, how do you turn research into real everyday impact for kids?
Sure.
How do we take that research? Because teachers, we're seeing research articles every day, something new's coming out. Very often we have to change what we're doing. How do we take that research, absorb it, and put it into action into our classrooms?
Well, Judy, I think it's very important to be learning with a cohort, be learning with a group, share the knowledge. What are the questions? Does this make sense to me? Or what does this mean? It's important to really understand what are those results all about? What does the research say? And together through a coach, administrator, that is important. I mean, why not work as a team, work together, and take that information, evaluate that information. Of course, it has to be information that comes through the science, right? Through the science, and the implementation. However, we need to understand, we need to have a knowledge base, Judy. We need to have a knowledge base of what it is, what is reading all about, what is language all about, and we begin at the very basics and continue growing.
Now, what do we do when we're feeling like we're getting mixed messages from different people? Like maybe the district office is saying this, and the researchers are saying this, and somebody else who has a lot of passion with multilingual learners is telling you this. What about if you're getting so many messages? How do you find the right answer? Because the kids don't have time for us to figure it all out sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, can I be honest? That's how I very often feel in the field. And, we have so many multilingual learners in our schools. And, as a coach, I always feel this enormous pressure to shift outcomes. That's my job. I have to shift outcomes. And sometimes I know from my multilingual learners, I'm screening them in English. We have screeners in Spanish. Sometimes we don't know, should we be screening in Spanish as well to get more data? But then the district is not sometimes looking at, both pieces of data. They kind of are, but, they're looking at the general data. And sometimes I feel like that's totally not fair because I know language development takes time, especially for our multilingual learners.
Right.
And it causes me stress.
Yeah. And I don't think there really is a clear answer as far as the assessment, especially. The more information, you're right though, Judy, the more information we can get on the from the child, the better off we are. Because we have to understand that when we're talking about English learners, Judy, we're talking about this continuum of what I'm trying to find, the words I'm trying to find, this continuum of understanding. I mean, there's a skill base that the range amongst our English learners can be so vast. So I will always go to say, I will always support the research that's coming out, right? But the more information, the better off we are as far as understanding language, understanding literacy, then we can work together to really find what is going to be the right, for example, the right set of assessments that we're going to need for these kids. And it doesn't go, I mean, it goes beyond just what are we testing, but what's been the experience before? You know, what is their background? How does that contribute to the overall?
And I have to be honest, I think that sometimes we don't do that enough because it's always the pressure, get it done, compliance. But I think the core thing that we have to remember is we're not doing these assessments for the district office. We're not doing this for the principals. We're doing it for the kids.
Right.
So is your professional recommendation that when we have the opportunity, we should assess kids in both languages at all times?
Get as much information as we can. Yeah, absolutely.
We should.
We can, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something I'm going to be very mindful of. I know that the screener that we use, Acadians, has a Spanish component.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we get overwhelmed, but I'm going to push myself to make sure that we prioritize this year. Tell me why that's so important.
Well, again, it goes back to, you know, what does the child, what's the linguistic repertoire that the child already comes to school with,
right?
And try and find out what that is. So that skill may exist in the home language,
right?
And the child is missing vocabulary, for example. And so as we're adding vocabulary and ensuring that skill transfers over, then we need to assess as much as we can. Get as much information. Let's
right,
be
because
mindful. Let's be mindful.
Right.
Of we have to use some professional judgment here as far as what are we using and how much are we using? How often are we using?
And are we going to do something with it?
Exactly. Right.
And it's interesting. So we might probably see scenarios where a kid can decode in Spanish, but might not be able to decode in English yet.
Right.
As well, right?
Right.
So what would that tell me?
I'll tell you, here's the issue. Let's go back to square one.
Yep.
The most important situation, the most important thing to do though is to have a knowledge base. We cannot cover all the nuances and all the possibilities. It is the knowledge base that teachers possess that will allow teachers then to make the professional judgment or the professional decisions that need to be made. So it's so important that we understand, first of all, how language works and how language then contributes to overall reading. And that's been the mantra here all for the last 3 days. Language is reading, reading is language, and language is everything, right?
Right.
So let's start with the knowledge base that teachers possess. And so we can go ahead and provide any curriculum, we can provide any assessment, but if we do not know what that means and how does that contribute to overall literacy, then you ask the right question. Then how do I implement it? Right? I can tell you, I can see these results, but do we know what that really means? Do we know?
I think I'm going to be honest with you. I think a lot of teachers are getting better systematically understanding the data.
Mm-hmm.
I think the confusing part for a lot of educators in the field is what do we do and how do we allocate time to make sure we're meeting the needs of our students? I'll give you some examples from the trenches. I've seen literacy blocks. Kids have a knowledge building program. They have to see that program implemented in English, then in another language, the same exact thing. Is that the best use of kids' time, especially when you don't have that much time in the day? Do you think it's practical to see the same lesson twice?
No.
Me too. Okay. We're calling out Sophia. Did you hear that? But I've seen it happen. And that's why I think messaging is so important.
Right.
And communicate. And it's not my building. It's everywhere systematically. I'm seeing different things.
Right.
And it's concerning because let's be honest, kids are little, especially the age bracket that I'm passionate about, early childhood, K to 2, and my co-host, we do K to 5. There's only so much time in the day. We have to be very intentional about that time.
Exactly.
So how do we design that literacy block to be efficient? And I know not every English language learner is in the same place. Here we have transitionals, we have ENL, we have emerging ENL. How do we make sure that the time in our literacy block is being used as efficiently as possible?
Are we incorporating language, good language skills within that block? We are going to be teaching foundational skills, for example, and in those foundational skills, are we embedding language in there?
Now tell me more about that. When you say language, does it matter which?
So let's So
let's get very practical.
All right. So let's say it's a bilingual classroom, an emergent bilinguals, right? So I mean, are we teaching so the children are bilingual and biliterate? If we're teaching for kids to be bilingual and biliterate, then the literacy skills have to develop in both English and Spanish.
See, so that's super important that you said that. And that comes to what I was thinking about. How do we determine what the goal for that student is? Because I think sometimes the messaging is unclear in my mind. And if it's unclear in my mind, it might be unclear. Maybe the teachers know more than me sometimes because they're the classroom teacher in that setting. But how do we determine what the goal is? Is the goal for the student to be able to come out literate in both languages at the same time? Is the goal for the student to master their native language first and then the English language? Because I've seen different models. I'm doing ELA in English, the reading component. Then I'm doing the writing component in Spanish, maybe. Then I'm doing my math lesson in Spanish. Then I'm doing my small group instruction in English. How do we determine?
Yeah. Why can't we be developing both skills at the same time?
Okay. What does that mean?
Why can't we be developing literacy skills in English and in Spanish?
So,
right. So it would be what's typically out there is like a 50-50 type of implementation.
Tell me more about that.
So children are actually, and this includes all. So now we're talking about all children being bilingual and biliterate. So that means that our children who are English speakers will also have the opportunity to learn literacy skills in both languages, in English and in Spanish. So our English speakers will learn Spanish literacy skills. Our Spanish speakers will obviously maintain their language, but also learn English skills.
So the expectation would be at the same time?
Right. Simultaneous, yeah.
But very often I hear that it's much easier for many students to learn their native language, especially with Spanish first.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're going to still be maintaining. We're still going to be maintaining the Spanish literacy skills. Right. We're still going to be maintaining Spanish literacy. All right. And at the same time, though, why can't we be teaching them the English skills? Here's my issue.
That sounds good in the ideal world, but what does that mean for my literacy block? Like, am I doing one lesson in English, one in Spanish? Am I doing or different languages? Obviously, this applies to any language. I'm bilingual, actually kind of trilingual. Yo hablo un poquito español, pero no mucho. Y hago very
That was really good. That was really
Not
good.
bad, right?
That really
all right,
good.
that's something.
That's really good,
and I understand
yeah,
a lot
really,
of Spanish.
really good.
I'm passionate about it, but
yeah, that's really good.
Does it mean, is it better to do, okay, the morning is in one language, the afternoon is in another language?
You can do.
Okay, so wait.
Yeah.
Let's go slow.
Right.
So give me a couple of options. I want options on the table of what I can or what I could suggest to do.
Yeah. So the literacy block then would be in. We want to have.
I'm so excited that you're saying this that I forgot that I could go back and watch this. I have my little pen ready to jot down like a little list. Step 1, step 2, option 1, option 2. Okay, I'm going to put down my pen.
Well, and Judy, there are many it depends on what the district is also
But why is
implementing,
the
right?
district in charge? How do we know that the district has the answer?
I'm not saying that they do. I'm not saying that they don't
Should I
either.
trust? Well, should we trust all our district? I mean, I love my district, but in general, like, how do we know that the district has the right guidance on what's best?
Well, most districts, and this is I kind of go against this type of system arrangement, but most districts have their regular ELA department, right, in the
Okay.
curriculum, and then they have their other department of working of other languages or the bilinguals and such. So first of all, those two systems though should be talking. Those two departments should be planning together. They should not be working in silos, as individual silos. So when you ask me the question of should we trust the district, well, districts should have personnel in place that understand literacy both in English and in Spanish or other languages.
I think you make a very key point that communication piece is together, but maybe also having the teachers in the field, in the trenches, as part of that conversation.
Well, absolutely.
Right.
So if I am proposing that these two systems, these two departments are always working together, probably even under one umbrella, that I'm saying, and let me go further, that whatever training that System A receives, System B is going to receive it as well. It's not just for my English speakers or just only for my speakers of other languages. Everybody should be receiving the same thing. So for the longest time out in the field, I see the same thing. I see teachers receiving training that's just specific to English speakers and learners, or English speakers.
Right.
And then I see then teachers receiving separate training for working with children who are learning English as a second language. Right. So they should also be they should be hearing the same thing. The psychology of reading is the psychology of reading.
Right.
All right. Now there will have to be some amplifications being done for children who are learning English. All right. But the skill base of teachers should be the same. We should understand how language works, how language is acquired, how the language leads to literacy instruction.
And how that works is the same for all languages.
Exactly.
That's a really good point.
Exactly. So on that point, or to that point, how often have I heard, here's the English learner brain, here's the bilingual brain, here's the English brain. The brain is the brain is the brain.
Oh, the brain is the brain is the brain.
Right.
All right, language is everything, and the brain is the brain is the brain.
All right. So I mean, we heard it here.
So actually, I'm not even going to look at the questions I've prepared. So the rope looks the same, whether if it's in Spanish, would my rope look the same as that famous Scarsborough rope that we've seen 1,000,001 times? So it's going to look the same. The concept of the
pretty
same,
similar.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Similar, right?
Yeah. So if I compare, if I'm working like with Spanish, for example, those foundational skills are just important in Spanish.
All right. Now we're going to go back. I'm going to hold you accountable. There's no BS on the literacy.
No BS.
Okay. I want to go back to my literacy block. What are my options on the table for how I'm structuring my time? And what is my and determining what is my goal for those students? Is it to learn one language, both languages, one language first? Wait, okay, let's go one step at a time.
Let me extend on that. When you say let's learn one language first, here is what I've seen in the field a lot. That yes, it's very important that if you have already coming with literacy skills in your home language, that you continue working with those. Those are the skills that some of those skills may transfer over. All right. Now, if the child is
Give
going
an
to
example of what you mean for my viewers.
For example, decoding. Decoding. I mean, in English, Spanish, you're decoding. There is a nuance though. In Spanish, you are decoding at syllable chunks.
Right.
But in English, you are decoding at grapheme chunks.
Okay.
All right. So the skill of decoding transfers over. However, I have to be intentional in teaching kids that, I'm not looking at syllable chunks here in English. Now I'm looking at individual graphemes and putting those together. So, I mean, the skill is going to transfer over, but I need additional support and amplification over here. If I talk about phonology, Judy, if I am a Spanish speaker, I
Okay.
come to the table with 22 phonemes. All right. But if I'm going to learn English, or as I'm learning English, I have to pick up another 22 because English has 44 phonemes.
Right.
Right. So this is where the intentionality and the explicitness
But at
has
least
to
you
has to
had some
occur.
familiarity with
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
That's
Now,
very
at
interesting.
least I know that these letters, these graphemes represents sounds, and in English the same
And I
thing.
have the ability to hear sounds, which will make it easier to potentially hear
to
sounds.
hear, yeah, to hear most, at least half of them, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Or so.
All right. But
So
my literacy
so
block.
let's go to the literacy block then. So why can't we have literacy skills being taught in both languages?
What does that mean?
So
From
you,
in a practical
so I
way?
have the opportunity to be teaching phonemic awareness, for example, right? Phonemic as a foundational skill, teaching phonemic awareness in both languages with the
But what if you don't
application
have
of the
enough
support.
at the same time?
It would be separate during the day.
But
Yeah.
there's not that much time in our days.
Well, then in that case, it all depends too, though. It all
How do you-
depends that,
Right.
you know, can I do some foundational skills, you know, during my content area as well. But I just be careful with that, because I still
My brain
need,
is already on
I
fire
still
thinking.
need those foundational skills.
Right.
I still need those. Right. So can we do, instead of siloing so much, can we embed, what does the schedule look like? Can we embed those schedules or those skills within, like you said, specific literacy blocks, you know, either one day or the next, or morning or afternoon? How does that, so that does deserve, or that does need a little bit more planning, though.
So ideally, it would be great. I learned phonemic awareness in English. Let me learn it in my language. I had a phonics lesson in English. Let me have a phonics lesson in Spanish or in another language. That's in the perfect scenario. But we know for the knowledge building piece, the ELA piece, where we're learning the other stuff, it would be better probably to do it in the native language, if that's the stronger language first, right?
Well, you know what? And actually, even if it's in the language that's being learned, it's the important thing is, how do I support that? How much can I support that learning? And that's when it gets a little bit, you know, it gets a little bit complicated, in the
Right.
sense of that, if I am being taught this content area lesson in English and I don't understand English, you know, what else am I going to do?
Put in place
Exactly.
to make sure that I understand. So it's really about the understanding.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's really about the understanding. That's important. Any other recommendations you have from a practical lens?
I'll tell you. So,
because you know who told me you're the king of being practical? Nell told me. She said, so I'm going to hold you accountable. Nell told me you need to speak to Antonio because he's really practical.
Practicality. I'll tell you what we need to see throughout the day is lots of conversation. We need to see lots of language. We need lots of language going on between teacher and student. Primarily, a lot of talk going from student to teacher and student to student. I have to.
That's been the biggest takeaway from the conference, because I love to talk. You could see I love to talk, but very often in classrooms, teachers are stressed out. They're told you have to do this, and you'll see pieces of talking, pieces of conversations, quick turn and talks. And we know turn and talks, kids need think time. So let's let them jot something down, maybe, or have some think time before. Yep. Mm-hmm. Right. But I think that is a really key takeaway from the conference, that reminder that kids need time to talk. Because I think very often teachers are so stressed out, because sometimes principals will come in and you have to be doing this at this time, and this at this time, and this at this time. And the main takeaway and reminder at this conference is that language is everything. And it's not just this other thing. Mm-hmm. Because very often people were talking about the 5 pillars, and language. No, it's a really big part and a critical piece. Mm-hmm. How do we make more time? And
remember that the one doing the talking is doing the thinking.
The one doing the talking is doing the thinking. So the more time we give our kids to talk, that's active. That's more active engagement.
Yeah. And even with specific stems, not just, you know, turn to your partner and talk, you know.
And sometimes it's the same partner. How many times can you talk to the same person? Like let's change it up a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Really, really interesting. So I have some more questions for you. So what was the core message of what you wanted to amplify? You came to Big Sky. Where'd you come from again? El Paso.
El Paso.
Right?
Mhm.
You
El
came
Paso.
to Big Sky. Is this your first time at the conference?
No.
You've been here.
Yeah,
This
I think
is
this is my
first.
fourth.
Wow.
Mhm.
What was the core message in your presentations that you wanted to really amplify for your listeners today?
Well, I'll tell you so what's the title of our summit?
Let's say it together.
Language is everything. Language is everything. So yesterday I spoke about language is everything, and language instruction for all children. And because of having worked with English learners or multilingual learners for most of my career, it becomes very apparent that we have to understand what language is all about. But here's my other thing though, Judy. So if I have a room full of 30 educators and I ask each one of them, or ask them to define, what do you mean by what's the definition of language for you? I'll probably have 30 different definitions.
Don't put me on the spot here today. I don't want to be on the air and you're going to be like, Judy, we have
Judy,
some
what's your
work to
definition?
do.
Yeah, what's your definition, Judy? So
what's your definition?
Well, I'll tell you. So it's either from a linguist, primarily from a linguist point of view, that language has two purposes. Language is used to communicate, right? Language has function and language has form. So the function is the purpose. We have to know, why are we communicating? Why is this? Why am I answering this question? Why am I writing
Well, I
this?
know why I ask questions. It's to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
My brain is always on the quest to learn.
So there's the purpose, right?
Yep. Or to tell you something of how I'm feeling,
right.
Or
explain,
what's going on.
Yeah, analyze, yeah. So, but language also has form, which means that it has a structure. It's made up of these systems that have to do with phonology and orthography and morphology and syntax, right? So, especially with English learners, Judy, we teach our kids lots of vocabulary. We want them to communicate, especially with our English learners.
Yeah.
We want them to communicate. And the form over here, the structure of the phonology and the orthography and the morphology, it needs to be taught explicitly as well. Now, my concern is that we're not teaching orthography well enough. All right. So yes, that's it. But I also have to do something with communication.
Why do you say that? I'm just going to close the door, by the way. You keep talking, but why do you say that?
That we're not teaching orthography well enough?
Why? Based on what?
I'll tell you. So as Judy's closing the door, I have a hypothesis. I'm very concerned at the number of long-term English learners that exist in our country. And these are our students who have been identified as English learners for, I believe, for 6 years or more, and are still haven't been released from this ID as English learners. My theory is that the reason they have not been able to test out of there is that they don't understand, or let me rephrase that. We have not done a well enough job of teaching the structure of the language. What is this phonology? How's the phonology related to the orthography? We haven't been explicit enough on teaching how these words have been put together through morphemes, for example. What about syntax? All right.
Oh,
so what did
today? Van Dyke, that was really powerful
right?
stuff.
Yeah. If you ask her, she'll say that syntax is everything, right?
She
not language with it.
Right. She definitely did say that.
So those are areas that I'm saying we have to understand those well and see how they work. They have to work together. Right? So as I'm teaching these foundational skills, I'm also teaching vocabulary. I want kids to be talking in complete sentences.
All right. So let's get practical.
Right.
Since you're the king of being practical, what does that look like in action? So play with me make believe I'm a kid.
Yeah. So say, for example, Judy, let's talk about the phonemes. The phonemes in the word name. Say the word with me. Name.
Name.
Say it again.
Name.
Name. All right. You say it alone. Just say name.
Name.
Let's count how many phonemes are in the word name. We're just going to tap them out.
Of course.
Right?
N, A,
name. My name is Antonio. What is your name?
My name is Judy.
All right. Tell me again.
My name is Judy.
Can you turn to your neighbor and tell your neighbor your name?
My name is Judy.
And my name is Antonio. So you see how I'm adding some vocabulary, I'm adding some syntax, some complete sentences, and now I'm going to go ahead and break
And
it
you're
down.
also modeling.
Yeah, exactly.
You're also modeling.
Exactly.
So I hear it.
Yeah, right.
I absorb it.
Right.
I try it, and then I do it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a gradual release model.
Absolutely. Right. And so every time that I'm having those types, and this is a very, very foundational level of phonemic awareness. Anytime I'm doing that, I'm also adding vocabulary to it. Not just, I can very easily say, give me the sounds in the word name, and that's it. Right. But what about extending that? All right. And you know, I can go back to that and add more to that and add another sentence to that. Oh, and you know, the other thing too is the other thing.
And I like your practical examples. I hope we keep going in that direction.
Yeah. And the other thing too is during my instruction, wow, what about what if Judy is struggling with a phoneme that that she is not familiar with, right?
Right.
So I want to be explicit about that. This is the way I make that sound.
Okay, so
right?
do it.
Right? So let me before I do that, what's really interesting is that sometimes or very often we say, if that sound exists in your home, in the home language, then and let's say the sound for the letter T, all right?
T.
Okay. If it exists in the home language, let's say it's Spanish, then there's no need to be explicit about teaching it in English, right? Because it transfers over. Well, yes and no, all right? The sound is not identical. It's very similar, but it's not identical, all right? It's not identical. But here's the thing, though, and this is what I spend a lot of time on as well, is that sound is never found in the final position in Spanish, all right? So as I'm saying the word cat, all right?
Yeah.
I'm struggling, perhaps. I haven't heard that t in the final position, right?
And another thing is not every kid has the same proficiency.
Yeah, exactly.
So we can't assume.
Yeah,
That's another big takeaway from the conference that I made.
So if I had the opportunity here, so if I'm talking about the word cat, for example,
okay,
and I'm dividing it and splitting that up into phonemes. Say the word cat with me, Judy. Cat. Again, cat. Okay, and I can say, oh, the cat ran up the tree. Cat. Right. Say it with me. Say the sentence with me. The cat ran up the tree. Right? The cat ran up the tree. There you go. And if I have an illustration,
how was my phrasing and fluency? Was that right?
I love it.
With my Brooklyn accent.
And it's wonderful. So how many phonemes? Let's go ahead and tap out how many phonemes are in the word cat. Let's try it. All right. Say it again. Beautiful. Because you might not have heard that sound in that final.
So overemphasizing based on your data what you see the kids need.
Exactly. And now I'm going to go ahead and break it down into phonemes. And then one thing though is I want to make sure that I make that connection. It's so important that I make that connection between that phoneme and the actual letter. So this is k, right, and the C is what represents that. K, and so forth and so on, right? I want to make that, that's very important. And especially for children who are coming from a very transparent orthography, right? All right, that they have connections between phoneme and grapheme. That's almost, just one-to-one, but English is not that way. Right?
Interesting. Can I give you a really personal story, off topic a little bit, but kind of on topic? So I'm actually bilingual, kind of trilingual, but not really. I can speak Russian, but I have no idea how to read and write it. So I think that that's really important to also know not every student actually knows the orthography.
Right.
I know a little bit, maybe if I look and try.
Yeah.
But how do we
So this is what I was saying earlier, is the goal of your system for the child to be bilingual, or is the goal for the child to be bilingual and biliterate?
So what's the best starting point to determine what the goal is? Is the person that we go to the principal, the classroom teacher? How do we determine what that actual goal is? How are we all clear in the building?
Yeah, well,
so that everybody is on the same page.
Exactly.
Who's the
so is that the community that's going to be driving that decision? Let's not shy away from what's the input from the community.
Meaning the parents.
Exactly. Right. And do you have
That's a very important piece. Do we ever speak to the
Right.
parents and determine what do they want for their
right,
child?
right,
Now, if
exactly.
a child is in a certain setting, whether it be ENL, bilingual, do we always ask the parents for their input?
Well, parents are the ultimate decision makers on this.
That's
And
so important.
and what about
That's very important. I don't know how often we ask the parents
yeah?
that.
And what about dual language instruction? All right,
Yeah.
why can't every kid be bilingual and biliterate?
Exactly. And I think that's one of the greatest things that I learned with Claude. Instead of thinking of it as a deficit,
Mhm,
it's a wonderful thing. My own son,
mhm.
he unfortunately he doesn't speak Russian, but he's learning, he knows Chinese, and he's studying
Yeah.
abroad soon in China.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
that's a beautiful thing. Think about what his resume will look like to
Right.
be able to say, A, I studied abroad. B, I could speak another language. I mean,
Yeah.
that is such a powerful thing. And I think we don't celebrate that. I know that in other countries, very often, including one of my own grandfathers, he spoke like 4 or 5 languages. Why
Right.
do we see it in such a deficit lens sometimes rather than a strength?
Mhm.
Can you tell me, what do you think? Why?
I'll tell you. Maybe it's just unique to the U.S. My brother is a school administrator in London, right? And he tells me of all the languages that are part of his school, and the actual literacy instruction that he provides in other languages as well in part of his school. So you're
And
right. I don't know
what grade
why.
level is it?
This is uh middle school, I believe, middle school to high school. Yeah.
So finish what you were
Yeah.
saying.
So why is it that we're just placing our attention to the English learner? Why can't we have dual language
I think
instruction?
I have a theory of what
Why
I think
can't we have that?
I think I have a little theory of what's happening. Maybe partially. I think that sometimes people feel so responsible for making sure that kids learn English because
Mhm.
they're going to be in the job force one day, and we want them to have equal opportunity. Not because we want kids to assimilate as much, but we want kids to have those opportunities. And if they don't learn English, could potentially opportunities be limited for students?
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Right? That's the reality,
Yeah.
right? And it
yeah,
doesn't mean
why
that
not though?
that we don't want we want, sometimes our intentions are really good when we want kids to learn English. It's not because, oh, you know that language, you're in America, you need to know this language. But from a job perspective or a functioning in the world, wouldn't it make it easier if you're living in America to also know the English language and know
Well,
it well?
absolutely.
Right?
But why can't you have more than one?
That's
right?
it. And
Why
I think
can't you
that's
have
and I think that's the key point.
why-
If you have
why can't you
more
have
than one, you might have advantages.
right? And Judy, here's my fear that there are programs out there.
Yeah.
Because you said no BS, right?
This
Yeah.
show is no BS, and we're going to get to that part soon.
There are programs out there where an emergent bilingual, for example, is being still taught how to read and write in his or her home language. Let's say it's Spanish, right?
Okay.
And continues on through, let's say, second grade. And then suddenly in the end of second grade or third grade, suddenly now the system is now it's English. Now I'm
Right.
going to teach you how to read in English. Do you realize how much time was wasted without, I mean, this child was taught in Spanish literacy skills, right? From kindergarten, first, second, and then
Right.
in third grade, suddenly, oh, we're going to teach you how to read in English.
So you're saying don't
wait. Do that. Don't
That's
do
it.
that.
That's it.
Don't do
Don't
that.
do that. Don't wait.
It's simultaneous.
And you know, it's funny, Antonio, and this is something I see, because what's going to happen very often, oh, yeah, we're going to do this and forget about that. And sometimes there's not that much language learning going on in middle school. You know, it'd be great if you can teach those kids how to read and write when they're little.
Yeah.
Because isn't it best for the
absolutely.
brain? Isn't it easier for kids when they're little
Yeah,
to learn?
yeah.
I mean, of course they
Yeah.
could learn in middle school, but how much phonics?
Absolutely.
Let's be honest, how much phonics is very often happening in middle school to learn English? Not that much.
And then you have, you have credits that need to be met now, especially like in high school. And so now you have scheduling
Wait,
issues.
so I want you to say that tip again for the viewers. People in the back here, Antonio's going to say it for you again. Give that last tip that you just said before. That was a very important one. Don't what?
Oh, don't wait. Don't wait until kids are in third grade to begin introducing foundational skills in English. That should have started way back in kindergarten. And that's why these systems that say 90-10, right? 80-20. I have a real concern.
Wait, break it down, because not everybody knows.
So that's
80-20.
true. That's true. And so things
assume.
are changing though. But there are still systems that say that 90% of your instruction during the day is going to be in the home language, and only 10% is going to be in the in English, right? Like say, for example, in kindergarten, and then in first grade it goes from 80% in the home language, and then 20% in English, and so forth and so on. My concerns though are is what's included in that 10%, right, in kindergarten? What's included in that 20%? In first grade.
Who determines that?
What's being done is the system is determining that.
And
each individual district, and there's no research on that.
Why is there only districts determining it?
Well, it shouldn't. I mean, this is just.
Shouldn't the goal be that we figured it out?
It should be,
and we're all going to have what works best for kids.
You made a great point. We should have figured it out. They should be figured out based on some good findings.
Then it would feel so much less uncomfortable. So we're going to wrap up in a little bit because I got to do one more grand finale with Trina and Doug. But what's a hot take you have about literacy that might surprise my audience today?
A hot take?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I have been on this quest to ensure that we have, and I'm going to sound like a broken record.
It's okay.
And I don't mean to. But I've been on this quest for so many years.
Yeah.
That we have to teach kids the foundational skills of English, regardless of whether they're English learners or not. And if they are English learners, I need to support that. Amplify that through what? Through language. Through oracy.
And we should be doing that in their native tongue as well, right?
Yeah. And you know what? And it's not just for the English learners, it's for all kids.
And I think a lot of the scaffolds we put in place for our English language learners do work for all kids because they're just best practices very often.
And you know what really surprised me the other day when I was doing a session here, actually a couple of days ago?
You were very funny during that session with that. You made some reference to Dick and Jane and that come spot. You want to tell everybody about that one before you tell us the other one?
Well, let me go back to that. Yeah. So what really was mind-blowing, and I've heard it before, is that when I ask kids to turn and learn, right, instead of just turn and talk, I mean, because it's
turn and
learn, that kids don't know what to say.
They very often
don't have the vocabulary.
Right. Yeah. They don't know what to say, or maybe the teacher wasn't clear enough with their instructions, but very often the kids are sitting there like, and it's the same old kids. So what do we do?
Yeah. We have to model. What kind of conversations we're going to be having, and also provide the vocabulary that kids are going to be using as they're having the discussion.
Right. So we shouldn't just assume that they have the skills that they need to have a powerful conversation.
Exactly. And it's just amazing how, back when I was in school, kids never stopped talking.
Correct.
We never stopped talking,
right?
But that was generations ago, and now with
you don't want to age yourself. No, right? You look good. You look good. You have a big fan base, by the way. People were going nuts when you were talking. They loved your whole story, and we didn't have time. Hopefully, you'll be back on the Literacy View to talk about your whole journey. But
yeah. So I'll tell you before we finish up.
You're not going to finish up without the traditional BS and cheers.
So. Going back to scheduling is probably the most difficult thing, Judy, that we come across, and being creative with the schedules, especially when we have simultaneous teaching of foundational skills, is very important, because I do need to teach both I want to go ahead and continue working with the home language, right, and also the new one, and now English. But that is the tricky part, right? Because I do want to have those same foundational skills. I want those foundational skills to be taught in both languages.
Good. All right. So Trina is texting me right now that they're about to come in, and so I'm starting my next recording. But I'm not letting you off the hook. No, I'm not letting you off the hook.
Okay.
All right. Trina, come say hi. We're taping live. You just say hi. So I just talked about you
Hi,
on the
Trina.
air. Yeah. See how crazy we are at the Literacy View? So I'm not letting Antonio on the hook. Trina and Doug are coming next as my grand finale. Antonio, 3 BS
Oh my
things
gosh.
in literacy. Right now, we need to know what is BS, what needs to stop ASAP in literacy.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? First of all, yes, the psychology of reading, which get relabeled as the science of reading, the psychology of reading.
Termed the psychology of
Oh,
reading.
that's how I learned it.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, the psychology of reading is all about literacy skills and how do we teach that?
And then it makes more sense about how it relates to the brain.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And the psychology of reading is true across the board, across all learners, right?
Okay, so
that's
the one PS of BS that you want.
And the other one, and there's another BS.
Two.
And
it has two more pieces of BS.
And it has to do particularly with English learners. This is crazy. That there is a bilingual brain, and there's an English-speaking brain, and there's a French-speaking brain. The brain is the brain is the brain.
The brain is the brain, and language is
everything.
And reading is language.
And language is.
See Trina in the back chiming in, and Doug is there too. All right, wait. So how many pieces of BS was that?
I think that was 2.
All right, you're on the hook.
Oh,
you have one more.
Another one, huh?
Come on, there's a lot of BS.
You think so?
Yes.
Let me see. Trina, give me another one, third one. Give me a third one.
Yes, that we should wait. I didn't hear the other ones, but that we should wait to promote comprehension.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's all say it. Don't wait to promote comprehension. All right, Antonio. 2 more things, and then I got my last recording, and then I'm going to sightsee in Montana.
Okay.
Something to cheer in education, something that we have to cheer and celebrate that's happening in the multilingual world that you're seeing progress.
Well, you know what? I think finally we've seen some progress in accepting what the research is all about. And we're finally moving in that direction. Not everybody is there, but I think we are being welcomed more by more of the naysayers than before. And I think now there's more a sense of collaboration going on between.
I think there could be more.
Oh yeah, no, I just say we're starting. I didn't say we.
I can't believe I ruined your cheer. I'm sorry. Live on the air, I'm messing up. Faith.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
And one more thing to cheer.
You know what? I mean, look what happened these last 3 days here.
I know, it's amazing. Amazing. Finally, a conference where I'm actually learning something that I'm not an expert in.
I mean, this is fantastic.
And prioritizing language, prioritizing comprehension, giving it the respect that it deserves, not just saying, oh, it's a little piece of the rope. Here it is.
Yeah. But you know what? I have one more.
Oh.
I do have one more.
Is it a good one?
It's a good one. All right. It's a good one. I often used to say that that higher ed was the last frontier. And that I was probably going to retire, and we weren't going to do anything to improve the systems of higher ed. And
you've seen an improvement.
And I've seen we're moving. We're
across the board.
Well, let's just say we're making some great progress.
Good. And I think that's key.
And that is key. That is key. You know, I can't say, I'm not going to throw my colleagues from higher ed under the bus.
Not on the Literacy View. They're coming around. Do it at a bar.
No, they're coming around. And there's a better understanding out there. And I think we have a better understanding, especially in higher ed.
That's really important.
Yeah, because right now I was talking. So Louisa Mose is my mentor, my teacher, and
you're hanging out with Louisa Mose, huh?
And she hangs, and she's really down on higher ed. But I've had the opportunity.
See some progress.
I was a resident professor with Mississippi for 5 years, and we did some tremendous work, and some in Alabama and some in Tennessee, and I think slowly but surely.
So there is optimism.
Oh yeah, lots of it.
All right, so we're going to wrap up this session, and we're coming back live in a couple of minutes. So we're changing lives one view at a time. Thank you, Antonio. And Antonio, you're officially a No BS bestie.
Oh no.
Can you come back when new research comes out, new things come out to help us with our multilingual students?
I would love to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Bye.